Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast, with your hosts, Mike Manino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hey guys, I'm Nariman Hamden, and this is Driven, Unscripted Success Podcast. We've got a great guest on today. We have Chris Marker. Chris Marker has been in the education space for over 20 years. He brings over 30 years of experience in student success to the Freedom Institute, he is the founder of the Freedom Institute. He has worked as a principal, assistant principal. He's homeschooled his own child who has grown up to be a successful engineer. And how are you, Chris?
I'm doing great today. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. So where are you zooming in from?
So we're located on South Horseshoe here in beautiful Naples, Florida, right next neighbors to our airport.
Awesome. And my neighbor.
Yeah.
So why don't you give us a quick snapshot of what your business is and what you do?
Fantastic. Well, the Freedom Institute of Collier County, and now our second high school, the Freedom Institute AI High, are a program designed basically taking the best of two different worlds. As you said, I was a career educator, an administrator for over 20 years in Collier County Public Schools, fantastic school district, and had incredible experiences with great teachers and great kids and great classroom environments. But it wasn't good enough for my own son, Noah, who we decided to homeschool, even though I could have selected the best teachers and the best schools as a part of what I did. In the homeschool freedoms of Florida, and we are the best state in the country, by the way, for permissionless education and parent choice. Our leadership, Governor DeSantis, and some of his predecessors have just really set Florida up in a better space than the rest of the country. And many states are now trying to copy and duplicate us. That being said, homeschooling is really growing, especially since the pandemic. But we were in it before. The perks there are you control the curriculum as a family. The parents pick what they're going to study, what their track, what their course of study is. There's not a lot of government interference. You are in charge of your child's education. And the great thing about that is, who loves a student more than their own family? And you're going to provide research and curriculum and educational opportunities tailor-made to your child's strengths and wants. And that's a big piece of what we wanted to bring to Freedom was that tailor-made path. Every one of my now 140 and growing student body have a personalized path through high school. Where, in our big warehouse schools, it's kind of a one size fits all. You walk in as a freshman and you're handed your schedule. There's a little bit of choice with electives and whatnot, provided you don't have to double up on an academic deficit. But really, you're in a warehouse taking 7-8 blocks a day, whether you like it or not. Under the homeschool umbrella, parents decide what you take. My son Noah, for example, he could read and write great, but man, if I put him in one more classic novel, I think he was going to run away. And he kind of came to us under that homeschool environment and said, Dad, I want to be an engineer. You guys know that. Why do I have to keep reading all these books? And so we shifted his curriculum. We did his language arts, more technical journals, magazines that had to do with software engineering and things he was interested in, and had him write and communicate and present on that instead. Hence, we tailor-made his path through high school, prepping him for an engineering path. And he got straight into college, honors, graduated, paid internship senior year, and they headhunted him out and hired him on the spot. And he's now doing airport design as a civil engineer. And a nice thing, too, I think a lot of times with homeschool, they can stay local. My son, although he works for a national firm, is doing projects at our Naples airport, at RSW in Fort Myers, Punta Gorda, so still localized. So some cool things about homeschool. There's also protection, where there's a lot of adult involvement with a young person's development. They're not lost in a 2,000 student high school where so much of the time it's a law of the jungle. It's kids with kids and not a lot of supervision. And you run into the bullying, the rough classroom experiences, some of the peer pressures. In a homeschool environment, you can continue to develop and protect them with a gradual release approach, setting them up for independent tasks, but still being there to protect and take care of them while they're still within your house. But what you don't get in homeschool is those incredible teachers that love their content and are experts at teaching it. You don't get that school spirit. Sure. Went to a little farm town in Ohio called Bellefontaine, and I'm still a proud Bellefontaine chieftain all these years later. And so you miss that. Some of the socialization, there's a lot of kids to meet and work with and develop. Homeschool is challenging for that. You as a parent have to provide those opportunities. The last piece that I learned the hard way that you really miss as a homeschool parent, even though I was an educator, there's so many things out there for homeschoolers, career and college planning. And when you're a homeschool parent, you're kind of in isolation. So the Freedom Institute, our high school program, brings a group of professionals together to work with these 140 families, and we become a repository of successful paths. A big one that so many homeschool families don't know about, and I'm here to share with them right now, are dual enrollment opportunities for college and bright futures in Florida. Yeah. Another amazing thing about our wonderful state, our government has set college up to truly be free for students and families that know the path, can do the work, and that's where they want to go. Dual enrollment here locally between Florida Southwestern University and Florida Gulf Coast University, both have programs. You can get 2+ years of free college while you're still in high school. You take a college class that counts as your high school requirement as well as college credits. And the credits are pretty much universally accepted by all Florida State universities. My stepdaughter, for instance, Brittany, shout out Brittany if you see this, you're awesome. She went to Florida Atlantic University as a junior. She had 2 full years of college done while in high school. Graduated early and is now in her 2nd year teaching as a 21-year-old.
That's fantastic.
Right here locally in an elementary school, Seagate. She's 1st grade. So shout out to Seagate too, great school. And, my son Noah, even though I was an educator, he's a little older, was not aware at the time of all the dual enrollment and bright futures opportunities. His mother, I'll blame her, had planned on him going to an out-of-state school. So we did a prepaid loan for him since birth, $529 at the time with the federal government. Turns out he went to Florida Southwestern and Florida Gulf Coast University. He was a great student. Had we known then what I know now, he would have gone to college for free. And his prepaid would have been a nice graduation gift. But sure. For all of our Freedom students here, our staff and team know that. So we're pathing kids that want to go the college route, and state schools or other participating schools across the country that accept the dual enrollment hours take them. I have over half my student body in taking or will take dual enrollment classes for free college right now. And it's just those kind of little nuances that our team of experts, success coaches, can help families with, that a lot of the big warehouse schools can't do. The other piece of that is they're teaching half the year, but then the other half of the time, they are working with you and your child on that college or career goal. So it's daily interaction with your vocational counselor, making sure that post-graduation of high school dream comes true.
Sure.
And college isn't the only way to go. Our country is in desperate need of skilled craftspeople, vocational pieces, certifications, and they're great paying jobs in super demand. So we also honor that. We expect and help all of our juniors and seniors, besides completing their coursework, get internships, apprenticeships, or jobs, or other pro-social development skills that lead them to that. It's become very cool at Freedom to have a job and make money while you're still in high school. It's kind of part of our culture. The kids will be, oh yeah, got my paycheck, check out my car. And all of a sudden, everybody in the junior and senior year wants us to help them get a job, which we're doing. And we incentivize that in program too. There's some rewards and stuff for kids that are doing 15 hours or more a week of that pro-social development outside of us. It's a different build. At the end of the day, if you were coming here as a student and we cloned you and my version of you graduates and the other one went to a warehouse school, public, private, whatnot,
sure,
my graduate of you is going to crush them as far as getting the career, college, and route to career that they want. And that's really what Freedom's all about.
Sure, it's more personalized and one-on-one. And what's nice about it, during COVID, I opted to pull my kids out of school because I didn't want them wearing masks. So I went online, found an online school program. We opted to go travel for a year and a half. So, well, needless to say, moms, I homeschooled them. That lasted one day. And then I hired a teacher. So I totally understand what you offer, which is fantastic because it's not easy to homeschool. Like for me, it wasn't for me because it was, I'm not a teacher. I didn't know what certain state curriculum was expected, what things needed to be, what exams needed to be taken in order for them to be able to be accepted as if they were students in school, which that's where you come in. It would have been nice to have had you back then, but I opted for hiring a teacher and continued on. So I totally understand it. So let me ask you, the couple things, about like your background and whatnot, to have some fun with. So how do you, obviously you started this. So how do you deal with taking risks? And is there a time when rolling the dice really worked out for you?
This would be a big one. I was 28 and a half years towards a 30-year retirement with the state of Florida. And this opportunity came along. Actually, a grandfather I had worked with, who had come through an elementary school I was principal at, Tom Grady, is our board chair here. And Freedom, although only in our third year, we're under an umbrella of the Quest Ed Foundation, a philanthropic group that's been in place for almost 30 years serving Naples, helping students in a lot of ways. Tom was the chair, and they wanted to move in a different direction. They had been a straight college counseling program, getting high schoolers ready for college, scholarship application, whatnot, very successful. But they wanted to open it up more. Let's get economic freedom for all students as our vision. Let's also provide pathways for folks that aren't going to college but want to go straight into the workforce and be productive, happy Americans in that route. And he kind of came at me with that idea. Having had that homeschool experience, it kind of clicked, man, we could really do something special towards that vision of economic freedom, giving professional guidance and education to high schoolers under the homeschool umbrella. And so I left with a year and a half left towards a full retirement to jump over and take this idea and see if the community wanted it first, and then if it worked for our kids. And it's been wildly successful. We came under contract 2 years ago, June 26th, for an August 14th opening. We had 2 commitments in July, and we're like, oh, is this going to work? We got 2 students, and I had a staff of 4 then. When we opened in the middle of August, we were up to 19. We had 50 at Christmas that first year, and I had to shut down registration because we were full. Hired additional staff for the following year. We had hoped to get to 80, which we thought was a big goal. We opened with 90. I let 10 more in because folks were begging at Christmas again to get to 100. Our full capacity year 3 in our pro forma and our business model was supposed to get to 120 by year's end. I had to open a little bit over that because of the demand with a big waiting list. I only have 5 seats left for next year as of today. So this risk has really worked out. And the other part is those 22 graduates that have all gotten what they wanted, college or career. And it's about 50-50. When I look over the 22, they got into college, got the schools they wanted with little or no financial encumbrance because we planned it with the families in them. And the other half, entrepreneurs, straight into the workforce, making money, paying rent, living on their own, being, prosperous, happy Americans, which is our goal. So that's the big risk, I think, probably the biggest one I've ever taken professionally, but so far so good.
Yeah, it seems that way, which is awesome. So what's a skill or habit you think doesn't get enough credit for contributing to your success?
Team building, having a vision that inspires other people to join you and bring their brilliance and genius and insights into it with you. Freedom, success as a team. I feel a little guilty about this, but I'll confess, I cherry pick some of the very best educators I've worked with over 25 years in Collier County to come do this with me. Dr. Poteet, Christy Vale, Michelle Garfolo, they're kind of opened it with me. They were all administrators, had been successful educators, moved into administration, and I got them to jump and do this too. And without that quality team of people, especially in this modern world where communications and pivots need to constantly happen with the job force as it keeps changing, you need that group of really, really talented folks to come with you. So I think leadership vision and the ability to inspire their creativity and input towards a better goal has really been helpful.
Sure. So staying on top of any field is tough. What's something exciting you see on the horizon in your industry, and how are you getting ready for it?
So we're not even into our first year, and our board, and and I mentioned Tom Grady as our chair, Ed Morton, Tad Deco, Bill Barker. I'm going to name drop the rest of them. Great guys that are really support, and they have a vision for seeing an America that's ever better and stronger. They kind of said, in spite of them being even older than me, if that's possible, let's look into this artificial intelligence thing, and how that's going to affect education. So they tasked me to do some research and develop a grant request. And so Dr. Botit, he was our principal, he's now our executive director of programs in artificial intelligence. We traveled to MIT for an educational conference in Cambridge, kind of people from around the world that were sort of cutting edge on AI and education, where it is and where it's going. We got to go out to the Arizona State University Summit in San Diego, one of the world's biggest educational conferences each year. Did a lot of research and wrote a grant, which we have since been awarded $1 million to integrate and develop artificial intelligence programs at Freedom. And from that, I moved Nate from principal into this new position where he's kind of developing and overseeing all of our AI programs. We really built the grant on the philosophy of not like Terminator, where AI is going to take over mankind,
Sure.
but human beings that know how to use artificial intelligence tools ethically and efficiently are going to replace a lot of human beings that don't in the workforce.
I agree with that 100%.
There's a lot of educational entities out there with valid cautions and concerns, but they're burying their head in the sand a little bit and kind of calling AI a bad guy. It's going to thwart our critical thinking skills. And, the way we did it's the way it needs to be done. I see that as a fear of the unknown, especially now that we've researched and dove into it a little bit. Once upon a time, we hoed fields with a hoe, and then tractors came out. And hoeing is a great skill for sure. There are times when you probably still need to hoe, but if you weren't going to learn how to use that tractor and just hoe, you're going to be out of business.
Right.
And so that's kind of where we went, and a lot of different pieces of our AI program. Last year, when we first awarded the grant, step one was to integrate AI into our classrooms, teaching our kids how to use those tools, as I said before, ethically and efficiently in their tasks. Sometimes we still want traditionally to read and write and develop those communication skills that you and I had. But once you do that, let's also try a few projects using some different AI tools that we teach you how to use. Compare and contrast how they work. Now, what about a blended model? What can it do for you? So we weekly have lessons on AI tools and how to use it in our Freedom Actual program. That also applies to our staff. So they're getting exposed to AI tools, and the efficiency that a teacher can build lessons and develop projects using AI as their assistant is extraordinary. It saves a teacher hours a week.
For sure. I mean, I use Chat GPT all the time for pretty much everything. And if I need to put together a minute meeting, put in certain details, create this, and it creates the entire PDF for me in minutes, as opposed to, or if I need a PowerPoint presentation, throw everything I need in there and it's done within minutes. I mean, it's efficient and it's time effective, and you can get a lot more done.
You absolutely can. And I look at, since, I want all my kids to get jobs and live happily ever after, I look at it like this too. If you or I were hiring someone for a position in our programs or our businesses, and, we go through the interview process and you get two candidates and they're both rock stars and they're great, but candidate one has no AI skills or certifications and candidate two does, who are you going to hire? Knowing, even as just a beginning user, even though I've researched AI, I don't consider myself savvy. I'm a beginning user. I want that AI person because I know the efficiency, the creativity, the communication abilities, the research abilities that they're going to be onboarded with. So that was piece one. Piece two, we wanted to develop something permanent for our kids that would transcend into careers. So our students have the opportunity to pursue a Freedom AI certificate. It includes some actual industry certifications in Google Gemini, how to prompt, entry-level user. As they go through years with us, they go deeper. Juniors and seniors, we actually, to get the Freedom AI certificate, besides a cornerstone project, will have to take and pass a course in their chosen career in AI. We have over 3,000 licenses across different careers where you get an AI certificate. So if you want to be a carpenter, there's an AI certificate in carpentry. If you want to be a nurse, there's an AI certificate in nursing. So our kids will come out with these certificates, making them more competitive to get straight into a job in the workforce or get into a college en route to that job. And then part three, I mentioned our demand. We're full with waiting lists, but the AI has opened up a second high school for us. We also now have Freedom AI High. Kind of fun to say AI High.
Hey, hi.
and students in that program still pursuing the economic freedom vision that we do here, still having that personal success coach, that human being, helping them be successful in their academics, get that college or career they want. But the curriculum itself, still under the homeschool umbrella, we work with parents to kind of pick and choose from a menu, over 10,000 licensed classes, as well as classes we can make completely with AI. So we sign their students up for an on-demand program where it is computer-based, but multiple different components depending on the academic. You may draw math from a tried and true adaptive academic module like ALEX or Khan Academy. Here, you might want to pursue a class that actually can get you a CLEP exam for college credit. So we use Modern States. Or the family and we just design a curriculum based on a set of standards dumped into an AI brain. It's amazing. I can take a full year curriculum from CPALMS, the state repository, dump it into AI. I can record you for about 60 seconds and ask you a few questions, dump that into the AI. 10, 15 minutes later, it will spit out a full semester course with your avatar, your likeness as the teacher. Yeah. It's extraordinary. So Freedom AI is doing that. And we still bring the kids in for some hours a week there, but not the full day, to make sure they're being successful in their curriculum. Still under the umbrella of a homeschool. So the parents are still ultimately in charge with full transparency of what they're learning. But now Freedom AI High is blowing up. We just sort of wanted to build and develop behind the scenes, but the demand for freedom and the flexibility that comes with a computer-based program, we're already in double digits with enrollment. We haven't even marketed or really opened it yet.
That's fantastic. So obviously, leading a team has its challenges. What's your leadership style? And can you give us an example of how it helped you through a tough spot?
I had a great leader. I'll name drop again, Jennifer Kincaid. I believe she just retired from Collier County Public Schools after an incredible career. And she was my principal once upon a time when I was an assistant principal. And she introduced me to a leadership style called service-led leadership. And it really was about, yes, you have a vision and you want to lead your team or your business or your program towards that vision. But one strategy to do it is take care of the people with you.
Sure.
It's open communication. It's asking as many questions or more questions than you give statements or input to. It's learning the strengths and weaknesses of the folks you work with to play at their strengths and avoid their weaknesses and fill in those gaps. She was so amazing. I still remember, and this was at an elementary school, as a principal, she would bring in baked goods. She was a great cook too, every Friday morning for the entire staff. And that was just one of those pieces of developing a culture of service-led leadership. And I'm not as good as her, but I've tried to adopt that. I think it's a great way to run schools too, because then that trickles down not just from you to your educational staff, but from them to their students. And sure. That's another piece, I think, in a private nonprofit like we are. We really are customer service. I need my parents to be happy with what we're doing. I need our students to be happy with their school day and what they're getting in school. So that service-led leadership, I think, trickles down. Another unique piece of freedom. Attendance is up to the parents. It's not a compulsory attendance piece. It's another nice thing about homeschool. You can travel, as you did with yours.
Yes.
You can pursue sports or athletics or fine arts that require Monday through Friday daytime coaching or support, and make up the classes then flexibly. So with that, the service-led piece, our kids have to want to be here. A student can't come to Freedom because the parents make them. The student themselves has to pledge, yeah, I want to be a Freedom Eagle. I'm going to work with you guys and my family to pursue my personal best. So out of my entire 140 and growing enrollment, every student wants to be here, which is really, I think, unique for a high school when so many kids are sort of forced to go. But to make sure the kids want to be here, we have to make classrooms very engaging, very fulfilling. They've got to feel that they're growing and developing and that they're safe and valued.
Right.
It's kind of fun to have all those pieces as a part of your high school culture.
That is really neat. So when you're building your dream team, what's the one trait you look for and why?
You know, um, I'm I'm a board certified behavior analyst as well. So behavioral principles and human behavior have always been a big interest of mine. And I like leadership qualities. I look for that in people throughout the rank and file. I I really like intelligence. I think that's a big piece of hiring. The high IQ, someone's ability to communicate, but not just communicate to your face, communication reputation over time. Uh,
Sure.
in studying some of the best indicators of future job success when you're hiring or developing your colleagues is past job success. So when you can get similar job experiences with honest, genuine references that they were good at it, if there's some data that examine their successes, great hiring pieces. One of the worst indicators of future job success is the ability of someone to tell you what you want to hear, which is so often what happens in an interview. It's kind of an irony. Most organizations use the personal interview as the biggest reason they determine whether that person should be hired or not. But
Yeah.
truthfully, all that is a 10 to 20-minute window of somebody telling you what you want to hear. And whoever does that the best gets the job. Um,
Right. Kind
yeah,
of like an advertisement.
yeah, right. So I like leadership. I like intelligence. I like past job successes.
That's great. So how do you encourage your team to think outside the box and bring new ideas to the table?
This position being brand new and founding a new idea, uh, it almost happened naturally because you're coming into curriculum meetings, you're coming into program design meetings, you're coming into budget meetings with a blank slate. We're not on a train track here. We are
Right.
building an airplane that's flying great, but there's still some pieces to put on the wings. So all of our team, I think, have really been empowered and very affirmed for their ideas. Freedom Now, and we talk about the complexity of what a high school program that's unique and different is. Everybody here, even our hires new this year, have already contributed to making it a better program, and it's ongoing. Over time, I think systems replace some of that. It's very important on a continuous progress model. I think that you bring in your team back to examine your systems for continuous improvement, even once something's solidified. But right now, we're still building it and making it better every day. So that creativity is constantly in demand and constantly valued.
Yeah, it's so fresh and new.
Yeah, great
You know,
questions.
and
Those are some
oh,
outside the box questions.
I appreciate it. So why don't I'm curious to I like this question. What's a day in your life look like, and how do you juggle work and everything else?
Yeah. I, you know, I, when you're, I think I have
Mm.
two titles. I'm a chief executive officer, a chief learning officer, co-founder. Um, you got to be very available and open to everybody, whether it be your staff, your parents, your students. And so there are emails and phone calls that never stop. And that's a challenge. I also answer to a board that are dynamic and, idea driven and excited. And that has its own set of demands. You're on call really 24/7. So you have to embrace that all of these pieces are just folks wanting to do what's best for kids and make it better. So instead of it being a burden, it's an opportunity and a blessing. So I think that's part of the mindset. Smartphones have changed our lives, right? We are always on demand,
Yes.
and it- that one's tough. So you balance in home life there. We do have some no phone times. They're not long, but we do incorporate some of them. Um, but I think that's a big one. It's just you're always on demand, and you've got to shift your mindset to see that as a blessing and an opportunity, not a burden.
Sure. So has there been a book, a podcast, or someone that's really changed your outlook or approach?
Boy, um, you know, a couple books, I guess, over time, hopefully have affected me in positive ways. The Bible, I'm going to throw that one out there for sure. Um, More recently, and in human endeavors, Covey's Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, Gallup's Strength Finder. Those are pieces that I found pretty influential. It tied in well to my behavior analyst theories, and I suppose B.F. Skinner, the father of behavioralism, would be an influence too. Instead of attacking weakness or negativity in people or in life, let's find the positivity and the strengths and build upon that.
Okay.
Even at Freedom, it's really important that we affirm our kids, not the old school motto where you wait till they talk or they're standing up or they're not paying attention and you scold them. You catch them doing the right things. And we really push 4 big character traits here: kindness, respect, hard work, and patriotism. So when our kids are witnessing or exempling those, we bring attention to them. And Nirman, wow, you're so kind. And we actually give Freedom character tickets. And you then can use those, save them up, and buy snacks from the principal, privileges into the rooms, other things as we go on. Yeah, there's a fun little economy there, but the real reason that we want to do that is when they graduate, we want that young man or young woman to really have embraced and internalized, I am hardworking, I am respectful, I am kind, I am patriotic, because they're foundations of good citizenship and set them up for success. So building on positivity and strengths, I think a lot of those works that I mentioned have really been influential in developing that. So I'm glad I fell into those things.
That's wonderful. So can you, okay, well, sorry, it sounds like things are going well for you and your business. As you're looking towards the future, I'm wondering if or how you create passive income, or if you have invested in the past.
Personally,
Yes.
I was fortunate to have almost 30 years with Florida Retirement System, and that's a nice safety net. The rest of life, 401ks, fall in the stocks and bonds. I'm actually learning more here, probably about investment than I knew coming in. One of our board members, Mr. Grady, is also a very successful investor. And our third year students, after having Consumerism 1 and Consumerism 2, are eligible to come into our investment honors class. In that class, Mr. Grady leads the students on actually guiding a $200,000 portfolio that our board put aside for them to manage. So he's teaching the kids investment strategies. They're now studying stocks and bonds and determining how this money is spent. So I'm sitting in that class learning
That's fantastic.
S&P 500, alpha, studying trends, risks. And it's fun to have Tom as an expert, a veteran of the market, but then having kids with their fresh new ideas and understanding our current culture, put it together. And that's affected some of my investments successfully. Our class last year, I love to boast about them. Under Tom's leadership, in spite of the tariffs and the stock market being so crazy, they beat the S&P 500 by 3%. So
That's
they're
fantastic.
making our board money. Kids in
Yes.
the class also get a little bit of money in their names. Some of it's contests, but when they graduate successfully from the class, whatever that money grew or shrunk to, they get to take as a scholarship.
That's awesome. What a great program. I mean,
It's
I
cool to
haven't
watch the
heard
high
of
schoolers.
any other high school or public or private school that has anything on finance, on investing. So, which is so crucial. I think it's one of the most crucial things that children need to learn is, first of all, finances and how to invest their money.
I'm a big fan of our governor.
Yeah, so am I.
He came and spoke to our kids in our first year because House Bill 1 was a piece that he really put a lot of input in, which allowed reimbursement for homeschool expenses to come back to families. That had never been in play before. Florida has always been one of the strongest states for reimbursement to parents for private school choice, but now it actually went all the way down to homeschoolers. And he came and spoke to our kids and our parents. Was fantastic. He is such a visionary. The consumerism piece, he pushed to put into law that high school students, as of 2 years ago, I believe, freshmen that started then, had to have a semester of consumerism as part of their graduation requirements. Freedom goes farther. We offer 5 years, if you take a couple classes simultaneously, of consumerism. And it starts out with a Consumerism 1, a year study of personal finance, kind of Dave Ramsey's curriculum, which is, entry-level taxes and budgeting and banking and loans and interest rate, be it your home or your car, student loans, things I didn't get in high school. And, our kids are getting that real good foundation. Year 2, they dive a little deeper into the key points. And then year 3, they can jump into this investment class and actually really invest money. I mean, I'm going to have kids after 4 years that are going to graduate with a beginning level of expertise in the stock market.
Right.
And, if we all understood compound interest and the way the stock market has worked over the last, 150 years, it's the path from working paycheck to paycheck to establishing generational wealth. And it's just a piece that so many of us never got to hear about.
Absolutely.
My kids are getting to hear about it.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's really, really exciting. So, as we're wrapping up this interview, what exciting plans or initiatives do you have planned or have in the works for the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah. So, one of the challenges with growing a school, even if it's really, really popular and in demand and effective, is real estate and square footage. That's one piece where, we're scalable, but to jump into another county in the state or another site here, you're looking at, that's our bell system in the background. Our kids actually record our bells. So
that's great.
we try to get away from the factory model and make it a lot more fun, inviting, and family. So anyways, with Freedom AI High and the on-demand ability to work from home, but with expert adults guiding your curriculum, guiding your path, we're really going to expand that because it doesn't require the square footage. And so many families want to embrace and be home with their children, even through high school, and doing the pieces of college and career development that happen there, but have that expert guidance on curriculum and navigation to those career destinations. And we really have limitless expansion with that. So we're really going to push that. We're very open to investors that would want to come in and grow a Freedom in their county, especially in Florida. Another really, really neat thing, thanks to Governor DeSantis, and I teased it a little bit, there is now state reimbursement to homeschool expenses. So a family in Collier County, Naples, for instance, can apply for the state scholarship and get over $9,000 to pay for homeschool expenses. And that almost pays our full tuition. So the money goes to the parent's still in charge of it, and they can then use that to pay us for tuition and make a private quality concierge high school program like ours almost free. It's amazing.
That is amazing. Well, I appreciate you coming on and taking the time to share what you're doing. If one wants to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can go online, freedominstitute.net, and check out our website. You can call us directly, 239, we got this phone number lucky, 239-427-1776.
Nice.
How about that?
That's great.
The birth of our country is our phone number. I love
that. Is awesome.
Just give us a call. We love to do tours, whether it be for Freedom Actual High School or Freedom AI High daily. You'll probably meet Nate, myself, or Christy, and we'll show you the place and see our kids just thriving.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And if anyone wants to get a hold of Chris and learn about homeschooling or getting your kids involved there, that's how you get a hold of him. And thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.